Welcome back to the Cello Brain podcast. I am so thrilled to let you all know that there is a guest for the very first time on the show. I am so thrilled to announce that her name is Sarah Martin. She is a wife, mom, friend, and certified coach for FasterWay to Fat Loss. This means that she grabs busy women by the hand so that you know how much you can eat, thrive, and how to work out so that you can feel as strong as Wonder Woman. Oh, I just love that. When she's not customizing macros for her FasterWay gals, you can find her cheering way too loud at her son's football games or going on date nights with her husband of 22 years. Welcome to the show, Sarah. So glad to have you here.
Ina, this is so fun. I didn't know I was the first guest ever. I'm so honored. This is just a blast. I always love hanging out with you.
Yes, same here. I'm so excited for our conversation.
Yeah.
Sarah, I am so curious if you can tell me the story of how you got started with FasterWay.
I would love to share. I got started because I had spent, since I was 15, on every kind of trick, every kind of diet trick, diet rampage, diet whatever, to include the celery soup diet, which is horrible.
Oh my goodness.
So I spent years since I was 15 struggling, feeling just not confident in my skin, even as a young girl on up into my early 40s. I'm 45 now. I am happy to proclaim that. And so I got started as a client of FasterWay because I came off of a stage after teaching at a women's event and having just the best time pouring into these women and seeing lives change. Like you could see it in their face, how they were going to just take it and run. It was a Christian women's event, and the Lord just moved. And I just felt like I was in my sweet spot. You know, that feeling of just like even what you do, Ina, of how you are so much in your sweet spot. I felt like I was just in my sweet spot until the pictures came. And it about ruined everything. That sweet spot made me feel confident. Like when I was fixing to click open of that file to get the pictures, because, you know, there's pictures for everything right now these days. And I said at that moment, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be in fear anymore. I don't want to be in fear. I don't want to be afraid of looking at myself in pictures. And at the same time, I was tired and fed up with not feeling like I was vibrant. I talk about women feeling vibrant, and I was frustrated for not being able to lose weight, not being able to feel comfortable in my skin. And so just as we do, I was scrolling on Instagram, feeling frustrated, and two completely different friends were posting their huge plates of beautiful food on Instagram. Their food. And I immediately DM'd them back, what are you doing? What is this? This is like a huge plate of food and it's beautiful. Like, what are you doing? It's FasterWay. Same thing. What are you doing? It's FasterWay. And I was like, wait a second. And because I'm a geek about fitness and wellness, because I've just been in that space for a long time, I started looking and I was like, wait a second. This makes sense. They're eating real food. And then I jumped in and started seeing myself the strategies. Wait, we're eating real food. I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
I'm building lean muscle. And wait a second, my hormones feel more like balanced. This makes sense. And so I was hooked. And so down the road, about a year and a half after that, I was trying to work my way out of a part-time job that I just didn't align with anymore, a company that just wasn't part of my values anymore. And I needed some income for my family. And I was like, wait a second, I love encouraging women and grabbing them by the hand. I believe in this program. And so it just made sense to add like a parallel to what I'd already been doing in my kind of ministry life. And from then it's like no turning back. And like I said, you said in the intro, I love grabbing you by the hand and equipping you with tools so you don't have to like search Pinterest for hours of healthy meal, quote, just eating healthy, or waste time on YouTube cobbling together workouts. And I've seen women get lean and strong, lose inches, and most importantly, walk in freedom of feeling like they can show up feeling well mentally, spiritually, physically for the things that God calls you to do.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do what I do. Yeah.
I love that. You know, Sarah, I've heard little parts of your story here and there. Like I knew about the women's conference and just little tidbits, but wow, that is an incredible testimony to the types of women that you can help. You want them to feel like, as you said, completely well and healthy mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically,
Yeah,
because often it all starts with what you're consuming and what you're eating and making sure that you're feeling that energy so that you can really thrive. And
exactly.
oh, wow, I love that word thrive. I would love to know, like,
Mhm.
what does it mean for you to thrive and to be vibrant? The
Yeah, so I put
use.
those 2 words together a
Yeah.
lot. I put those 2 words together a lot, especially when I'm offering, my training to my clients because it's often when you're talking about the health and fitness and the diet space, I don't call this a diet because it's not, but when you're in that space, we've been so conditioned. I'm just gonna get straight to the nitty-gritty. Women
Yeah,
have been
absolutely.
conditioned to, undereat
Mhm.
and to, if you're working out, to overtrain. So what does that mean? Overtraining, busting your booty at the gym to your detriment, to the
Mhm.
detriment of your hormones, your metabolism, your mood, your mental state. And so one of the like nitty-gritty things of thriving is knowing how to fuel your body in a way that God originally intended you to eat, to live in abundance. So eating
Mhm.
good whole food nutrition is kind of what we lean into. And so a lot of times women are coming to me basically haven't been in starvation mode. And I tell you, hey, wait a second, this is how you eat. So your body feels safe to release fat and to
Mhm.
build lean muscle and to live in thrive mode. And thrive mode essentially means you're feeling vibrant, you're feeling confident.
Mhm.
On the logistics side, you're like I said, your body feels safe again.
Yeah.
And to thrive also means that you can feel well, like I said, well, in your marriage, as you're parenting your kids, you can feel well to show up in all the ways that you're passionate about.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Sarah, that is so in line with what my listeners are thinking about. Like they are thinking about how can I be well so that I can show up for my family in the way that I
Yeah.
want, for my business, for my job, all
Yeah.
these different areas. And it really starts with understanding what is wellness. Like
Right.
really brings you like what's the core principles of thriving in your wellness.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the FasterWay program so much. They really go over the principles and it becomes a lifestyle. And
Right.
you maybe hear that word being thrown around on social media. It's like, it's
Right.
not a diet, it's a lifestyle.
Right.
But ultimately, it comes down to the daily habits you do to
Mhm.
thrive. Because if your life is revolving around the exercise, the over exercising and the under eating, and like it just consumes you, you don't have brain space available for things
Right.
like learning the cello
Right.
or
Right.
starting a business or anything that requires confidence and feeling like you can just conquer the day.
Yeah.
So
Having
that's why I love
energy.
that so
Yeah.
much. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like that term like a lifestyle does get thrown around and that term wellness really does it's kind of a big like I don't even know like what that means. Sometimes people are like that's a
Yeah.
word. I hope to feel well. But
Mhm.
really it's are you clicking on all cylinders?
Yes.
So you can do even like you mentioned the cello. So you can have the brain space to
Yeah.
want to go and pick it up and
Hmm.
practice.
Yeah.
And because I mean, and your listeners know, once you pick up that cello or the thing that you're passionate about, once you get to the point where you're sitting there playing,
Hmm.
it feels so great. But
Yeah.
a lot of times there are barriers that are even like physical barriers that then lead to mental barriers that
Mhm.
keep you from, no, I don't feel like doing it. No, I don't have enough energy. Or also like I don't have the drive. And so,
Mhm.
I work with a lot of high capacity women and they have things that they're passionate about. But then they don't have the margin or they've dug themselves into a ditch
Mhm.
because of those passions,
Yeah.
going after. that success or that passion to the detriment of their health. And then all of a sudden they find themselves not wanting to do it anymore,
Mhm.
wanting to show up anymore,
Yeah,
which is so sad. It's so
it really is.
it's
Yeah.
not it's not, God's best for you. So
Mhm.
yeah, so I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting because they drive themselves into this hole with how much they are showing up, like show up, show up, show up.
Yeah.
And then they think they don't have the time to focus on wellness, when in fact that's the very thing that's going to make it possible for them to show up. So
Right.
it's about flipping the script, like completely
Yeah.
flipping how they see taking care of themselves. And you mentioned that there's these physical or and mental blocks that keeps them from being consistent. So I'm so curious what you would say are those physical and mental blocks, because the way that you exercise and the way that you want to practice cello, the similarities are
So
endless.
many.
So I would
Right.
love to know from your perspective as a health coach, would you say are those physical blocks? Because people can apply that word for
You
word
totally
to the
can.
cello.
Right. You can, it's so it's anything that you're developing a habit. It's anything that you're developing. Also, that's a keyword. Like that's another buzzword, habit.
Yeah.
I like to say rhythms. I like to say rhythms.
I like that.
So, um, there's so many ways we could go about this, and I'd be curious to see what you say with how the people that you work with too. But so when we're talking some of the like mindset blocks, I hear this a lot, and if any of my gals are listening, you've heard me say this. I'm not calling you out because I've heard it from everybody. So
Yeah.
a lot of the things are saying, I will try to go and work out this afternoon. I will try to make my meal plan. And here's the deal with why that's a block. Because when you use the word try, that's leaving the back door wide open for you to just not do it
Mhm.
or just come up with something else to do that's
Yeah.
quote unquote more important, because we have things in life, right?
Yeah.
But when you say, I just will, I will,
Mhm.
or I
Yeah.
commit, that closes the door and it flips something in your brain to where that's more of a priority. And I don't know about you, I am a type A. If I say I'm going to do something, even to myself, I'm going to do it. And
Yeah.
so that's one of the blocks of saying I'll try. And how you flip that switch and script is I will.
Yeah.
Now, does
Exactly.
life happen? Right? Things happen. And I coach my gals like all the time, like grace is grace. Life sometimes gets wonky, but you're setting yourself up better by flipping those words.
Mhm.
So that's one thing. Another thing is, a block is when you don't have kind of balance in your life of we have too much going on. You have so much saying that you've said yes to, or that
Mhm.
you've committed to, or you feel obligated to, and that then you are, like we talked about, you're kind of getting in a ditch with your health, or getting in a ditch with not feeling like you're doing what you're really passionate about.
Mhm.
And so, simple things like the blocks are saying no to other
Yeah.
things, like saying no.
Exactly.
But it first starts with prioritizing what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want your life to look like? And a lot of times I'll have my gals that I work with like reverse engineer. I just had my VIP, my FasterWay VIP, which is our monthly membership, after my 6-week kind of introduction. And I asked her, I said, okay, it's June 1st. It was June 1st when we did that. It's June
Mhm.
1st. I want you to think ahead, and I want you to think about September 1st.
Yeah.
New season comes September 1st. And I want you to think, what do you want to feel like come September?
Mhm.
What do you want? What memories do you want to have made? What things do you want to feel proud about?
Mhm.
And then you reverse engineer that.
Yeah.
That's where you say, okay, this is, because you got to start with like some vision. You got to cast some
Mhm.
vision. A
Mhm.
lot of the times, the blocks are that you just don't have vision of what could
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I could talk all day long about logistics and stuff like putting your shoes by the
Yeah.
door, those kinds of things. But really, it's those mental
Mhm.
blocks and the things with going without vision and giving yourself an out,
Mhm.
um, an
Mhm.
easy out, even with the words you use.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say? Like, what are some blocks? Because it's so similar. Like, how do you phrase
Yes.
it?
It really is so similar. Like, everyone listening, you can take everything Sarah just said and apply it like word for word to practicing the cello. Because, and to answer your question, like how I would say it is, it comes down to the be, do, have. You were
Yep.
talking about painting the vision, so that's the have, and you have to keep that in mind. But you can't actively do the have. Like you can't take action on the have. All you can do is take action on the do, but the action then stems from who you are.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
when you're talking about those blocks and like giving yourself an out, that means that you're seeing yourself currently as a person who gives themselves an out.
Oh, that's good.
Or
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
are seeing yourself as someone who doesn't exercise or they don't take care of themselves. And then that is your excuse because you don't see yourself as the kind of person who actually does those things. Which brings me to another question that came up in my mind while you were talking, Sarah. Um, when you talk about habits and like now that we're talking about the identity part, like being
Yeah.
a person, how
Yeah.
long would you say it takes to become the kind of person that takes care of themselves in all of those areas? Like how when does it become second nature,
Oh
essentially?
gosh. That is such a good question. Um, everybody is different. Um, there's a couple layers that I think you would find interesting and your listeners would find interesting just given what we're talking about. Excuse me. So, you make every thought that you have makes a neuro pathway in your brain.
Yeah.
And I know you know about this. So
Mhm.
it makes a neuro pathway in your brain. And it takes time. So I've even heard like, a Dr. Caroline Leaf talking about it takes like 3 weeks or so many times of doing something to make a new pathway in your brain. And those are essentially like roadways in your brain. So your old thoughts have roadways that are well paved, well worn, easy to go down that road with your thoughts. But to have that identity of the have, like you just talked about, it takes rewiring your brain. It takes just, even saying it over and over and over again. And it depends on that commitment level to and like vision casting on the regular. I like to say even adding prayer into it. So you're like inviting the Lord into it. But I'm thinking about a couple of my clients that I work with that they come to me and they're like, Sarah, I need to do something. I am so frustrated. I'm at the end of my rope. Help. Um, and then we talk about the logistics of what I do. And they're like, and they're ready to do it, but they'll tell me because we're honest.
Yeah.
I hate working out. I hate it. I hate it. They use those words. And so we talk about, just the mindsets of it and, and things start to shift when they start to see how great you feel. How that way you feel really is such a driver to
Yeah.
multiply on itself. And
100%.
then before you know it, you're just telling yourself this is, okay, you're going down these roads, you're making these new pathways of what workouts are to you.
Yeah.
And before I know it, I'm hearing from my gals, oh my gosh, I couldn't wait to get up and get my workout in this morning. Who is this person? Who is this person? And
Yeah.
we have kind of a motto in kind of if you've heard me talk about it on social media, but in my group, we just have language that we use. And the vibrant, the thrive, the survival mode versus thrive mode, that's language that we use. But also, we're fit girls.
Yeah.
This is just what we do.
Yeah.
This is
Like
just what we do.
there's the identity. We're
Yeah,
fit
the
girls.
identity.
We are. Like any
Yeah,
statement that starts with I am or we are.
we are.
Like, yeah,
This is
I
just
love
what I
that.
do. So I don't want to, but I know that vision of what I want to have, like you said, I know that
Yes.
vision. And to get there, this is just what I do. And before you know it,
Mhm.
it becomes, kind of who you are, what you do. It doesn't, your workouts are not your identity. Your weight loss is not your identity. I
Mhm.
said that that's found in the
Yeah.
Lord. But when we're talking about layers of how your mind is so driven by identity and vision, we're fit girls. It's just what we do.
Yeah.
Do we do
Yeah.
hard things? Yes. Does it have to be hard
Mhm.
all the time? No. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I would say it. There's really not a like concrete answer. It
Yeah,
takes also,
exactly.
if you want to get there faster, it takes commitment. It just
Mhm.
takes
Mhm.
commitment. It's not always I like to say consistency. Consistency
Yeah.
is fine. I don't mind that word, but consistency to daily and even minute by minute choosing better and best,
Yes.
but consistency paired with commitment to choosing better and
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like just, oh, I just got to be consistent. I just can't be consistent. Oh man, I wasn't consistent. I fell off the wagon, quote unquote. I do not love using that
I
word, fell off
know.
the wagon.
Yeah.
But I'm going to consistently pick back up where I left off, even when things went off the rails, pick back up with where I left off, choose better and best.
Mhm.
You're equipped with that. My gals are equipped with that. And then day by day, minute by minute, just consistently deciding that you're going to choose better and best.
Mhm.
And then it multiplies on itself.
Yes, exactly, Sarah. Like I am so in agreement with you. I'm like, people listening to the podcast, I'm nodding my head vigorously. Then there's two principles that I'm hearing you talking about. So it reminds me of those you know the before and after pictures that
Uh-huh.
people have when they lose some fat and they're
Yeah,
like, okay, this is me before, this is me after. You know, those images are more representations of what happened internally because,
that's
as you
good.
said, they talk about, I hate exercising. The person before is more just like that picture of before. It's more a representation of someone who believes that they hate exercising. The
Right.
after is more the belief shift. What happened when the belief shift happened? And this reminds me of when people restart an instrument as an adult. As
Yeah.
a kid, they often would have like, oh, I just hate practicing.
Yeah.
Or two,
Yeah.
I hate exercising.
Yeah.
And they had that identity growing up, like my mom nags me to practice. I hate practicing. And therefore, when I turned 15, I quit.
Right.
And I read actually this morning 50% of teens quit music between ages 16 and 18.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
And then they have this identity of I quit music and I hate practicing. But then when they start becoming someone who has a completely different vision that has been casted to them that they review and repeat, then they
Yeah.
become someone where practicing, they cannot wait to get up in the morning and do their 15 minutes. And then a
Right.
second principle that I heard you talking about that I think is just gold is this better and best
Uh-huh.
scenario. Like with FasterWay, I know that there's let's say the 2-hit workouts Monday, Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
Then the better option, like if you can't, the best obviously would be to do both, but the better is like do one.
Right.
So it's the same thing with the cello. Like the best case scenario, you practice 5 days a week, 15 minutes a day. That's what I teach in the program. The better option is 3 times a week, 7 minutes one day, 20 minutes
Right.
a day, 5 minutes the next. And you're
Right.
still making
Right.
progress because
Exactly.
of that principle.
I love that. It's like moving the needle.
Yes.
You don't have to do all the things to move
Yeah.
the needle, especially when you're trying to get momentum.
Mhm. Mhm.
When you're trying to get momentum, just like you said, better and bad, but choose what's
Mhm.
better, maybe not best, right?
Yeah.
And then once you get the needle moving, once you get momentum going, then it's time to give yourself some stretch goals. Okay, so now I'm at
Exactly.
3, let's do 4.
Yeah.
Like let's do 4 practices for
Mhm.
12 minutes instead of
Yeah.
7 minutes,
Exactly.
and and
Exactly.
then it multiplies on itself. And,
Mhm.
I was thinking, bouncing off of what you were talking about, of the identity of like quitting practicing.
Yeah.
I hate working out. It's even better to get like to get to the root, even a deeper root. So like, what is it when you, in my world, hate working out? Like, I don't know that I'm like having a revelation here, because I'm like, maybe I need, because maybe I need to take it deeper with some of my gals, like
Mhm.
if they're ready. So if you're listening, gals, you need to get ready.
Yeah.
Um, but what is it really? Do you hate working out, or do you have a fear of doing harder things? Do you have a
Mhm.
fear of not doing it perfectly? A lot of people
Mhm.
come to the table, and I can see it with the cello and an instrument. Your fear, like, if I'm not going to do it perfectly, I don't want to do it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so sometimes those things like practicing or exercising really have a deeper root.
Yeah.
And that's like with anything
Exactly.
in life. Like when you have this vision of where you want to go,
Mhm.
I want you to feel like you can thrive, to live
Yes.
in vibrant mode. I call it vibrant mode.
Yeah.
I want you
Love
to
that.
hit your weight loss goals. I
Mhm.
also, though, want you to see transformation, so that all of
Yeah.
this stuff sticks, so
Mhm.
that 30-pound weight loss sticks.
Yeah.
And so it takes getting to some roots of things.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
interesting how it's so much more than just physically strumming, moving the
Exactly.
bow on the
Exactly.
cello or picking up a
Mhm.
a heavy weight to do
Yeah.
a deadlift. So
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
so interesting.
Exactly. And being like embracing that feeling of a beginner when you're learning that new skill is so important. I experienced that when I started strength training about 8 years ago. I started and I was like, I'm so weak. Like a 5 pound bicep curl is so hard and it feels awkward. And it's like my joints don't want to work well and all the things. And ultimately, that feeling is what brings you to that identity.
Right.
And then you're able to continue and become that person who's in thrive mode.
Right.
Like the weight loss and the exercise and like all those things are almost byproducts of the person who you're becoming. Like
Exactly.
as you said, like you obviously want them to reach their goals, like that's amazing. But once they reach their goal, how do you actually get it to stick? And how do you get it
Right.
to be like help you be the person? Like it always
Exactly.
comes down to those beliefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that so
Yeah.
much.
It's so, and in the industry that I'm in, it's all about the quick fixes or
Yeah.
just the number or that after picture. And so
Mm,
I think women come to me without even a grid for thinking, oh, well, I could be a different person on the other side of this.
mhm.
I could be a different person. So I have to like help them. I build that belief when they're once they've committed to let's do the good deep work,
Yeah.
but I have to like bring them in with the idea,
Mhm.
not by any means that I share any kind of quick fixes
Yeah.
or quick tips or tricks or hacks. I
Mhm.
mean, we might use those words, but they're not,
Yeah.
they're not meant to be anything other than help you start to get vision of what could
Yeah.
be. It's just
Yeah.
interesting.
The work works on you.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And yeah.
Yeah.
As you were talking, it just reminded me so much of that. Have you read the book The Power of One More by Ed Milet?
I've heard him talking about it on his podcast. It is on
It's
my
so
book
good.
list on Amazon. Yeah. Yeah,
You
but I know what you're
have
talking about.
to read it. There's one analogy that he uses in here that you are so welcome to steal. I've used it many times in my podcast and my cello stuff. But he talks about how you see yourself being the thermostat. So, for example, someone who comes to you for weight loss, let's say that they want to lose 30 pounds, if they are unsuccessful at it, their thermostat is still set at someone who's 30 pounds overweight. They show up as a person who's 30 pounds overweight because no matter what changes they make, their thermostat is set at that level. And when you have a thermostat in your home, let's say you set it to, I'm going to just throw a number out here. I have no idea what Fahrenheit is,
Oh,
78,
right, right, right. Like
70,
72. Yeah.
72.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
That's
temperature.
a good one.
So let's say it's set to 72. Then you open up a window and all of a sudden it becomes really hot in the room. Then the thermostat is going to turn the air conditioning on and it's going to get it back down to 72.
Yeah.
So you're always going to go back to the level the way that you
That
see
you
yourself.
set. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is that you need to switch the thermostat into someone who thrives.
Hmm.
And when you switch the thermostat, then you can actually see the results of becoming the person who is at a
Yes.
30 pounds lower or however, and then you can actually maintain it. You can
That's
actually
good.
keep it. So that,
That's so
yeah,
good.
I love
Yeah.
that
That's
analogy.
totally. That's so good. Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, and again, it goes back to vision
Yeah.
because a lot of time we're just so going and blowing in life. You
Mhm.
know, people just don't have even like I said, a grid um to come to see, where they've dug themselves into a ditch mentally,
Mhm.
physically, spiritually. And so I love just helping to see, where we can set that temperature. I love that. That's good.
Mhm. Mhm. Exactly. Well, Sarah, I have a couple more questions for you. I'm
Yeah,
just noticing we're already like 30 minutes in. Oh my goodness, those the best conversations just fly by.
so fun.
I'm curious if you have any insights on hormones and the brain. And this may like completely lengthen our episode, but I would just love, love, love to hear if you have any ideas about that because I know that you recently did a certification in hormones, which
Mhm.
I'm super curious about. And then the show's name is Cello Brain.
I love it.
So adding the brain element in there is always fun. So thank
Yeah,
you for
no,
that.
I love this. And I was thinking about this question and thinking about even like how you use that word, the cello brain, and like how, music and beauty and practicing and creating beauty
Mhm.
does wonders for your brain. I've
Yeah.
dabbled in the art world, and so I know enough to see it for
Mm.
myself. Um, there's a lot of nitty gritty when we talk hormones. But as far as just kind of high level, what comes to mind are your nervous system hormones, your adrenal hormones,
Mm.
when your body is under stress. So I talked about survival mode.
Yes.
Um, and I have a ripple effect. So hang tight with me because it gets to even a
Mhm.
ripple effect of picking up
Yeah.
that cello back there behind you. So the idea of when your body is under stress, you go into fight or flight mode.
Mhm.
Fight or flight mode, fight, flight, freeze, the fawn. I'm not as familiar with the fawn, but I do know just kind of that fight or flight mode. That's your adrenals are firing off, your norepinephrine, your cortisol. That's a big hot word right now is
It
cortisol.
is. Yes.
So I'll just stick with that one and kind of like kind of rabbit trail just for a second because I promise
Mm.
this will have a
Absolutely.
ending. But so cortisol is essentially your stress hormone, and it's not a bad thing. You need cortisol to get up in the morning. You
Yes.
to get out of bed in the morning. Your body was created to have cortisol elevated in the morning so you can get going on your day.
Yeah.
What happens is it was when we live in survival mode, life stress, digging your body into a ditch, you can also go in that survival mode, like I said, of not eating enough, of good whole food. I call it God-given food, whole food nutrition.
Yeah.
It
I love
comes from the
that.
ground and has a mother. That is God's gift to you for
That.
food. And so when you're not eating enough because of diet culture or simply
Mhm.
just don't value food, you just haven't ever put that as a value to like then see
Yeah.
the effects of how it makes you even feel mentally.
Mhm.
Your cortisol levels can raise, your survival mode goes into effect.
Mhm.
Um, and so that is one hormone that I think of when we talk about like the brain, because that fight or flight mode then kicks in your nervous system. And, then you start either going on like Energizer Bunny mode, where you're like,
Yeah.
and you don't stop, and then you can crash.
Mhm.
Or your body does crash and you've got to really start supporting your adrenals. You got to start supporting your body. And I can give some quick tips for that one in a second.
Mhm.
But how that then affects in your brain is just kind of even your body doesn't get when you're starting to live in that fight or flight mode, or you need that quick um, hit of either dopamine, epinephrine, that your body's on that overdrive and you're constantly needing that quick hit of dopamine, that quick hit
Mm.
of endorphins. That's the word I meant to say, of
Yeah.
endorphins.
Yeah.
Then it's just starts, you get desensitized. And so what I love to say is when life is life. Life is going to be stressful. Now, we mentioned before, like you can say no to things. Like there's a
Mhm.
lot of things that we choose to do that then create stress.
Yeah.
But life is life. I mean, there's things that are out of our control.
Mhm.
When you can, you know, set those things aside that are out of your control that start stress, but then support your body by eating in thrive mode, eating the best amount of carbs, proteins,
Mhm.
fats,
Mhm.
fiber.
Yeah.
Um, when we're especially talking about the food thing, that then supports those hormones. It balances things out. It kind of evens out that cortisol when your body's not in that stress mode.
Yeah.
It also evens out things like insulin levels. Insulin is such a driver
Mhm.
that then can have brain effects of your mood, of your anxiety. A lot of times people have excess anxiety because your blood sugar levels have dropped. And
Mhm.
you sometimes you just gotta eat, like, you gotta
Yeah.
eat. I'm like, "Girl, you gotta eat." And so,
Hangry.
there's so many effects on the brain to then when you do when you do say go for the things like picking up the things you love to do, getting that good dopamine hit of saying, "I
Yeah.
did it. I practiced my cello. It
Mhm.
sounds good," like, letting your
Mhm.
brain relax. It takes longer to let your brain relax
Yeah.
because you're so high up in those other hormones that I just mentioned. So, you
Exactly.
know, it's amazing how hormones simply are just messengers
Yes.
for your brain to send out signals to different parts of your body, whether it's your sex hormones, your female hormones, things how you have your period and things are your hormones,
Mhm.
that's usually
Yeah.
what we talk about too. But it's other
Yeah.
things like your fight or flight mode, your cortisol,
Yes.
your
Mhm.
norepinephrine, your epinephrine, things
Yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
So that's just kind of very high level.
Yeah.
And you could probably talk all day long about how the calming effect of beautiful music, and then the calming effect of like,
Mhm.
I study movement, calming effect of movement and repetitive
Yes.
movement
Oh, yeah.
calms your nervous system. And so while you're playing your cello to calm your nervous system, go ahead and grab a I'd even do the simplest form. There's a lot of talk about mineral mocktails.
Yeah.
Um, my simplest mineral mocktail, I don't like to make it complicated. All I say is get your water bottle, get some quality sea salts or
Mhm.
Redmonds. I love Redmonds. And salt. So salt and then lime or lemon. It doesn't even have to
Yeah.
be fresh squeezed. That can be too maintenance for too high maintenance. Just get the juicing juice little jar, squirt it in your water,
Mhm.
and it helps bring your body those extra minerals. It serves
Yeah.
as a natural electrolyte. Because a lot of
Exactly.
times our bodies are in that fight or flight mode because you might be dehydrated too.
Mhm.
When
Mhm.
not even eating enough, but also
Yeah.
dehydrated. So, you can put those things together to support your nervous system. And I'll say all day long, girls, you gotta eat. Like you
Yeah.
gotta eat. And especially when it's that God-given food, you're setting yourself up for
Mhm.
success
Mhm.
to thrive.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Sarah, that was so helpful. I feel like I understand the way hormones actually affect our emotions, our mood, how we feel energetically. That's so, so, so helpful. Thank you. Like, and I really
Yeah.
love how you said that they're messengers.
Mhm.
That is fascinating because when you play the cello, your dopamine levels go up and
Yeah.
it's a neurotransmitter. So if you think about transmitter, it's something that sends messages to different parts of your brain. Now, when you have the electrolytes on a too low level, then everything
Uh-huh.
moves slower in your brain as
Yeah.
well. But of combining things like cello playing with a mineral mocktail, actually, I have
Grab it.
mine
Yeah, there
right
you
here.
go. Yeah.
Then you have that full body effect. You have your brain being energized by these electrolytes. Like you think electric, it's like
Yeah,
electric
that's good.
signals
I like
going off
that.
in your brain, along with the cello playing. And what I really found very interesting, what you said, is about how you can get desensitized to certain hormones that are good for you or even bad for you, like the cortisol, you get
Uh-huh.
desensitized to it. And
Uh-huh.
then your body's just in this state of constant cortisol. But when you're taking care of yourself from your brain to your pinky toe,
Yeah.
then you can really experience wellness, which is what
Yeah.
we've been talking about for the
Yeah. Yeah.
last few
And
minutes.
exactly. And I think we just gave such a like it doesn't have to be that complicated.
Yes,
It
exactly.
doesn't have to be like go play your cello 3 days a week, 7
Hmm.
minutes. You don't have to do the
Yeah,
15 minutes, 5 days
exactly.
a week. Go grab salt and
Yeah,
lime or lemon. It doesn't have to be anything
exactly.
fancy. You don't even have to have your fancy Stanley cup.
Yeah,
Just throw some salt, lime or lemon
yeah.
into some water. There's other mineral mocktails that have
Mhm.
purpose, like where you add other things, but
Yeah, like
totally hear me
potassium
say
and
that.
stuff
Totally
like
hear
that.
me say that. That's just one of my favorite, quickest, like
Yes,
low maintenance things that
exactly.
everybody can do.
Exactly. And that's a way that you can become the kind of person that takes care of yourself by
Exactly.
figuring out, okay, what's the minimum that I can do?
Sure.
The book, what is it? Atomic Habits.
Yes.
In that
Yes.
book, he talks about how when you start a new habit, find out what is the minimum, the thing that you could do on your worst day.
Well, that's
Like
good.
the day you go to your father's funeral. Like, what's the thing that you could do on the worst day of your life?
Oh,
Then you know that that's a sustainable habit. And
so
just putting a pinch
interesting.
of salt in your water with a squeeze of lemon,
Right.
that's so easy. So
Yeah.
figure what is the
Yeah.
simplest thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's a good
I
way to
love
put
that,
it. Yeah,
Sarah.
that's good.
Mhm. So Sarah, I would love to know where people can find you.
Yes. So I most easily found on Instagram, Sarah Martin Vibrant Life.
Fantastic. I will link
Yeah.
that in the show notes for sure, and you can
Thank
give
you.
Sarah a follow there. And Sarah, this conversation has just been so life-giving. So
Yeah.
energized afterwards, and I'm sure that everyone who has made it to the end feels the same way. Sarah just has this vibrant personality. Your message of vibrancy comes through in every word. Your enthusiasm, Sarah, it is such a gift. Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
been an
Thank
honor having you on the
you.
podcast.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have one last question for you. This is a cello show. So I would
Yes.
love to know, if you were to play the cello, what would be your dream song?
I would love to be able to play canon in D.
It's a good
And
one.
does that make sense for the cello? Does it make sense for the
Oh,
cello?
100%. It's
Right?
like
Because of
almost
the
written for
low.
the cello.
Right, right. I
Yeah.
thought maybe so, but I chose that one because I'm an achiever and I know it's not easy. I've heard it enough. And it's such a like standard for like
Mhm.
beautiful music that, and so I just feel like if I'm going to learn how to play something on the cello, I want it to be something that's like an achievement,
Yeah, something,
something
yeah.
that's like a standard that never everybody knows, everybody appreciates that song, that piece. And so
Mhm,
yes,
mhm.
canon and D, that's yeah. And we played it at my wedding. They played it at my wedding. So it
Did?
just, yeah, like it just kind of sits sweet in my heart. So
Oh, wow. That is amazing,
yeah,
Sarah.
I love that question. Thank you for
Yeah,
asking.
absolutely. And for anyone listening who also has Canon in D as an aspirational song, you should know it's only based on 8 notes.
Oh,
You learn
really?
8 notes, which you can actually learn within your first 2 to 3 months on the cello. You
Oh my goodness.
basically know the song. Then we just create variations on those 8 notes. It's actually a lot simpler than it sounds.
So fun. See, it's like
Yeah.
that. We make things bigger than
Yes.
they have to be. I had no idea. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I gotta be some big achiever to like do, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I know it takes talent to
Mhm.
play that song, but to me, it seems very attainable now.
Yeah, exactly.
I
And that's
love
what
that.
we
That's
want.
fun.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we want for you. We want you to feel like you can take care of yourself
Yeah.
because you are worth it. And that's the
Yeah.
note that I want to leave everyone listening to this is you are worth it. You are worth taking care of. And yeah, hope you have an amazing day. Thank you again, Sarah, so much for this conversation. I will definitely want to have you again on the podcast.
Would be
This
so
was
fun.
so fun. Have a
Yay.
wonderful
Thank
day,
you.
everyone. Bye.